Hello everyone, welcome to our video ministry update for the month of December, where we share with you all that's going on in our lives and our ministry here in the country of Bolivia. You know, one of the signs I believe that shows spiritual maturity more than anything else in someone's lives is a desire to give and to be generous. It's the opposite of focusing on sinful self, and I think in the long run it gives us much more joy than any of the material things that this world offers us. The more we focus on the things of the Lord in heaven, the easier it is and the more we lay up our treasures in heaven where it will last forever. That's probably one of the things that we've been able to see during this time of raising money for our church to buy land in Pacata. We've been able to see the generosity of many of you and that spiritual maturity with the desire to give and to be generous. We've almost raised $80,000 at this point. This past month, we had a person from one of our supporting churches that had passed away, and they actually left an offering of $3,500 towards our ministry that we'll be applying towards that land. And that brings us to a total of $78,820 that we've already raised. So obviously we have just a little less than $21,000 left to reach our goal. Thank you so much for being generous to us. Thank you so much for praying. If you'd like to help us bring in that last $21,000, you can send that to Vision Baptist Missions Incorporated and put on there care of Bolivian Land Fund. And that P.O. Box number is 647, and the address there is Dawsonville, Georgia. The zip code is 30534. You can also find that on our website if you'd like to send money in to help us reach this goal. Also, I think one of the things that is lacking most in our world is the love of God, or at least that the people of the world understand the love of God. And while there are many ways that we can show the world the love of God, I think one of the ways that shows that more than anything else is when we show a genuine concern for both their physical and their spiritual health and their needs. This past month, one of the men from our church was able to help organize a small medical clinic in an area that's behind our church where there's a children's home and where there are over 100 needy families that live in this small community. And we were able to do the medical clinic there in that area. There's an organization here called Bright Hope. They were able to take several doctors, physical therapists, and then we had an eye doctor from one of our churches, a lady that was able to also go and participate in this medical clinic. And so we would have the people come into a waiting area, and there we would share the gospel with them, and then they would go to the different areas to be checked out by one of the doctors, one of the physical therapists, or the eye doctor. And we also were able to have a little activity and some games and share the gospel with about 30 children there. And so we were just really praising the Lord for this opportunity. And at the end, a couple of different families spoke to us about their desire to know more about the church, to come and visit us at the church. And so we're hoping that within the next few weeks, we'll be able to see fruit from the gospel that was preached and the contacts that we were made in this area. So pray for them. Pray that in the future we can maybe do other activities like this and to be able to reach many more people with the gospel. Also, I would like to ask you to continue to pray for one of our churches and one of our pastors. We've mentioned several different times Pastor Juan Lamet and his wife and two children that are working in Santa Cruz. Juan has faced several health issues lately and is still really struggling to get back to 100% so that he can focus on the ministry. He came here to Cochabamba from Santa Cruz several months ago when we had our ordination service, and with the plan just to be here for a week and then head back, but he wasn't able to do that. He was recovering from a double hernia surgery that had had several months before, and when he came for the ordination, he began having major stomach problems, and after having tests run, they found out that he had what's called H. pylori. It's a bacteria that is in the stomach, and it can cause really bad indigestion. It can cause ulcers, and in the long run, it ends up causing a lot of stomach cancer. And so he had to start treatments for that. He was able to get treated for that, but during that time, he also started having throat spasms. which was just crazy. All this at one time he began facing and wasn't able to return to Santa Cruz He was here with his family, and those throat spasms would make it where he almost couldn't breathe for a period of time. And so he'd have to lay down, would have to just completely relax. And so after the treatment on his stomach and returning to Santa Cruz, it's gotten a little bit better, but he's still having the throat spasms. So he's having a hard time preaching, a hard time singing very much, because a lot of times that provokes the throat spasms that he's having. And so just ask you to pray that he'll continue to recover from this and be able to get past it so that he can continue to preach the gospel. You know, our enemy never sleeps. He's always on the attack, and he always is looking for a way to stop us from doing what God wants us to do. And so pray for Juan, pray for his wife Melania and his 2 girls. Pray for them there that God would put a hedge of protection around them, and that he would be able to get past these throat spasms and problems that he's been having with his health, so that he can continue to do the ministry there in that area. So a few prayer requests, if you would pray for, as we mentioned, Pastor Juan and his family in his recovery. Also pray as we continue to try to get the paperwork in order for the church in Quiacoyo. We've mentioned that for a long time now, and we've just faced, I think, also the enemy, tons of difficulties. We hired a new lawyer that is a Christian lawyer that is one of the most known in our country, and he's even having problems. So pray that the Lord would just open the door, that they would be able to make some progress and soon be able to start building on the land for the church there in Quiacoyo. Also pray for Pastor Jorge and the church in Pacata. As we've mentioned a lot, their desire to buy a piece of land. Pray the Lord would continue to guide them and direct them to the exact place that they should be. And hopefully just in the near future, we'll be able to see them be able to purchase a piece of land, start building on their land, and be able to have services there to reach out into that community. Also pray for those who heard the gospel during the medical clinic, that we would be able to follow up with them and be able to see fruit from that and see people who are gloriously saved. And so thank you so much for all that you do for us in the ministry here in Bolivia. We definitely wouldn't be able to do what we do without you. And we just hope that you have a wonderful Christmas and a Happy New Year.